Amazingly, technology worked. We got him. We've been trying to get him for a long time. He's the quarterback of the ODU Monarchs, and he's Colton Joseph, and he's locked on Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Today's episode brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, we want to thank, special thanks to Eric Bohannon from ODU for arranging this and hanging out at practice a little bit longer than he probably wanted to. And special thanks for Colton Joseph for hopping on. He's on for about 10 to 12 minutes, so really appreciate his time. We go over how does a kid from Newport Beach, California, find Norfolk, Virginia, coming in as a redshirt freshman, taking over, big ball game against Georgia Southern. And then this season, trying to live up to those expectations, taking on Indiana, and he's looking ahead. Got a few weeks to go, but is he looking ahead to JMU? We do it all next. He is the quarterback of the ODU Monarchs. He's Colton Joseph, and he is Locked On Sunbelt. Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. I'm your host, Dave Schultz, and honored and thrilled to finally and to meet him for the first time. Ricky Ronnie just didn't want to bring him to Sunbelt Media Day, although we knew that he was going to be the starting quarterback. He is Colton Joseph of the ODU Monarchs. Colton, thanks very much for hopping on Locked On Sunbelt. How does a kid from Newport Beach, California, find Norfolk, Virginia?
That's just the recruiting process. And, on my visit, I like the beach out here. So, it felt like home. So, I had to commit and come out to Norfolk.
Were there any other choices? Were mom and dad suggesting stay at home, same time zone, or were you always going to Old Dominion?
Yeah, I'd say this was my best option and best situation for me. So I decided to commit.
And then what was it like? He turned to you, Ricky Ronnie turned to you to start as a redshirt freshman, made the switch last year.
Yeah, no, it was a blessing. All my hard work paid off, but it was a blessing to get the opportunity to go out and play. And I showed what I could do, and just been grinding and moving forward, and playing ever since.
What's it like having a former college quarterback as your head coach?
Good, because he kind of, anytime I'm making mistakes or, he's got little tips and pointers for he understands the position better than anyone else. So it's good to have him back there, knowing what he's talking about, knowing what I'm seeing out there.
I have asked him if he took advantage of his educational opportunities at Cornell, and he admitted that probably he did not. Does he stress the education with you at ODU a little bit more? Because he seemed to think he was having a little bit too good of a time doing whatever and playing football rather than taking advantage of that Ivy League education that he was getting.
Yeah, no, he definitely, that's a main point. It is academics super important. The football door isn't always open. Academics, that'll set you up for life. So that's what we got to focus on day in and day out, really.
Talking to Colton Joseph, quarterback of the ODU Monarchs. All right, so how has the pro? I mean, you kind of came in. In fact, maybe it was your second year. The offense changed, right? Or maybe it was your first year. You tell me. They brought in the new offensive coordinator. Was that when you were a freshman? You were a redshirt freshman?
That was my true freshman year. So I came in with Coach Deck at the same time.
All right, and then so that must be a little bit easier because you already knew what was going on by the time they asked you to step in. How has it changed over the last couple of years to accentuate the guys that you have rather than maybe what he had over at Fordham?
Yeah, so we've kind of just taken what he had before and built on it and grew from it, finding our strengths, building around the players we have, just finding what works for us, not what worked before. And that's kind of what we build off of and what we do. We keep moving forward on what plays have been working, what's our, what kind of, dynamic our offense uses. And our philosophy is the same, but using different components.
Yeah, because I think before it was mostly a quarterback, driven offense and did not have the dynamic ability to run. And you bring that ability to run. So did they tweak the offense of what you could do a little bit more too?
Yeah, so just added, a little bit more opportunity for me in the run game than before. That's pretty much the biggest tweak that we've made, or he's made since he's gotten here. But we're still the same philosophy. We've kind of found our identity as an offense recently, and we've just been, tweaking it and moving on from what we've got.
And how fast are you? What's your 40 time? Ish.
I haven't ran a 40 in a quick minute, but back in high school I ran a 4.51, but haven't ran one since. So I don't know what it'd be today.
We're not challenging any of the wide receivers or running backs. Feels like you might be able to take one of them unless you don't want to embarrass your teammates.
I think so. I don't know. I kind of gotta. I think I can give them a run for their money,
so to speak.
No doubt.
All right, we're talking with Colton Joseph, ODU quarterback, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. All right, so then, last year you had some monumental games. Come up with a big win against Georgia Southern, kind of faltered a little bit after that. But what was it like when you kind of exploded on the scene, right? That was your coming out party against Georgia Southern.
Yeah, it was electric, man. It was really good to showcase what I and the rest of the team could do in the moment, but I think we got a little ahead of ourselves and didn't fully appreciate what we had going on and kind of, just made too many mental mistakes going forward. That's kind of what, made the train stop moving forward. But I think this year we've got, a better culture and, just better pieces in the offense that we're going to be able to, keep it going and just be ourselves for the rest of the year.
Well, it's not only good pieces on the offense, pretty good pieces on the defense, because ODU has always given up a lot of points, and you guys are right behind JMU's stout defense in terms of giving up points per ball game.
Yeah, our defense is playing lights out. They're balling out. Can't appreciate that enough from them.
Talking to Colton Joseph, quarterback, ODU Monarchs. A few more minutes on Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. All right, so what was the attitude this offseason? Because I'm a big believer in the day of the NIL and the portal, that you get the same coach and the same quarterback, and it's a big deal. I actually picked ODU to finish second because of you and Ricky Ronnie coming back for the 6th year. What was the overall attitude during the offseason coming into this year?
Our main attitude is just build off of what we had success from last year. That along with all these new faces from the transfer portal, we just had to really just build chemistry. So we were out here all summer just, throwing when we could and training together, even just hanging out. Just doing some random stuff together too, just build a bond and build chemistry. So when we're out here playing, it's just like playing with your brother rather than playing with like a teammate, if that makes sense.
It does. So you've been there a couple of years now, and the portal's been a big deal for the last couple of years. How do you get to know the new teammates, and all of a sudden you're one of the leaders as a, I guess now a redshirt sophomore?
Yeah, I'd say just going around the building, just, making jokes, talking to people. That's really how you get to know everyone, sitting with new people during lunch, all that kind of stuff. But, we were just out here, just having fun together and just building relationships day after day. It doesn't happen overnight. It definitely took all summer, all spring. But I feel like we're definitely at a good spot right now with chemistry and offense and defensively.
All right, and then tell me about going into Indiana. Guys actually had a lead for a minute. Wanted to see you compete. My goal, I know you guys wanted to win. My idea wanted to see you compete, and you competed. And now we're seeing how good Indiana really is. And people look back and say, wow, Old Dominion must be pretty good. So what was it like going to play? Kurt Signetti had the Hoosiers in the playoff last year. A lot of former JMU players still there. What was it like taking on the Hoosiers?
Yeah, it was great. It was a great environment. Great competition. They're a really good team. Props to them. We just shot ourselves in the foot too many times, made too many mistakes. Had to, if we would have came out cleaner, we could have. I feel like we could have definitely scored more points there. Defense played great, but we just gotta we gotta pick up the slack on offense. I feel like we've definitely done that in the last few games here, but we just got to do that consistently for sure.
And then the big win that everybody, especially me, waiting for the Sun Belt was, a big win over a Power 4 team. Doesn't matter how good they are. You guys went into West Virginia, or into Virginia Tech rather, and you sort of, not sort of, you embarrassed the Hokies. All right. The coach got fired. You guys were, everything you guys did, every time I put it back on, you guys were throwing a touchdown pass or another interception or stopping them on a 4th down. When that game was happening, and I'm sure you guys game plan, this is the way the game's going to go. Was it still amazing the way the game went?
Yeah, so that just really showed what we can do as an offense when we're, offense and defense. Defense is playing great. They're stopping everything. And us on offense, we just, everyone was playing in sync. Everyone was doing their job. And, we felt like that was a big game for us. And we came out, first play just to, really come out there and just compete with all we had. And that really just, we were pushing that game to be a good game for us, and it was. And we're just excited to be able to play teams like that and come out with a win.
And so how do you take that and move that and play that way moving forward? Yet, yeah, just how do you take that game and build on it and not try to relive it? I guess is what I'm saying.
Got to play with confidence. We know we can play our best, and we just got to do that consistently and confidently. Conviction in whatever we got to do, whatever the play calls us to do. We just got to be ready to go out there and play our game for real.
Yeah, we're talking with Colton Joseph. A couple more minutes. Locked on Sunbelt, your team every day. Quarterback for the ODU Monarchs. I think ODU is like a sleeping giant in the Sunbelt. Them and Georgia State, you guys have the biggest metropolitan area. I don't know if you know this, Colton. Norfolk, Virginia, that area, Tidewater, used to be the largest metropolitan area without a major league franchise in America. It's got some AAA stuff, baseball and AAA hockey, but it doesn't have a major league team. What's it like playing in that kind of place? You guys pack the stadium, not that big of a stadium, but you guys get some really good crowds.
Yeah, no, our fans are showing up. I love the fans here and what we got going on. It's a great area, Norfolk. Just a lot of good spots out here. Friendly, a lot of friendly faces in the crowd. Just a good town for sure. It's really good to play for this city for real.
All right, I know you're not going to look ahead, but that's my job. You guys got a couple of ball games. You got Coastal Carolina coming in. They had an impressive win over South Alabama. They get an off week. Now they're taking you guys on. But I'm looking ahead to October 18th. It's going to be ODU and JMU. That's got East Division written all over it. It's got home field and championship game written all over it. And if you guys and JMU hold up there in the bargain, you guys will be on national TV. Have you peeked ahead at the schedule at all, or we're not there yet?
We're not there yet. I'm focused on Coastal Carolina right now, for sure.
He can't even say that with a straight face. Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. All right, he's Colton Joseph. He is the quarterback of ODU, the ODU Monarchs. Really appreciate your time, Colton. Thanks for hopping on Locked On Sunbelt, and best of luck this season. Please stay healthy, okay?
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, I want to thank Colton Joseph for hopping on Locked On Sunbelt. Sincerely appreciate his time. Best of luck this week against Coastal Carolina. All right, we will do the biggest surprise in the Sunbelt. That can both be positive and a negative. That is for sure. We'll start on the positive side. We will, in fact, the biggest surprise could be the biggest surprise and disappointment, both if you want to look at it that way. But we'll do that right after I tell you about FanDuel and Square. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock all $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. I built parlays, tried player props, and even followed the live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. What could have I gotten? The Cajuns at down 17 midway through the third. Whether you're a casual fan or loving diving into stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. And Square. This episode is brought to you by Square. Your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that make the neighborhood the neighborhood. These are the places that become the extension of home, whether it's a sports bar dedicated to your team's fan bases, the spot with the best wings in town for game day, or that beloved local chain that's been rooted in the community for years. These businesses are what bring people together. When neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. Picked up my bagels to break the fast following the holiday on Thursday at Maya's Bagel Express. The franchise, the national chain is right next door, which I like as well, but Maya's is local. So I like going in to there. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/LockedOnCollege to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square, see you in the neighborhood. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Again, a special thanks to Colton Joseph for hopping on Locked On Sunbelt. All right, biggest surprise so far in the Sunbelt, we're going to be positive on this, is once again, maybe we shouldn't be, but it's got to be ULM. All right, they're 3-1. Their only loss is to Alabama, big loss, and they're playing Northwestern this weekend. They, you want to take a chance that ESPN's Mike Greenberg has no idea where UL Monroe is? He will if they go in there and beat the Wildcats. Nonetheless, they're favored by, they're underdogs by more than 2 scores, but they are very good defensively. And if they can get anything going offensively, maybe turn Northwestern over a little bit, they may be able to come out of that with a win. Nonetheless, they are a huge surprise. They can run the football and they can stop the run. I mean, Ahmad Hardy's having a fantastic season with Missouri, so they are missing the guy. But Brian Vincent told us that they were going to be very happy with the running back room. They're getting more out of Aiden Armenta. All right. Could have folded after an early pick 6 against Arkansas State. And lo and behold, what they end up scoring 28 of the last 34 points in the ball game and come away with a win that snapped a 15-game, not only 15 game, but 15 game losing streak to Arkansas State. And that's huge. And again, regardless of what happens this weekend, injuries notwithstanding, you still have a shot. You're going to Coastal, and that's not going to be easy. Maybe Coastal's found something. All right, maybe they turn it around. But you can beat Coastal, and then you get Troy at home, and you're 5-2 heading into Southern Miss. That wouldn't be bad. All right, Southern Miss got a chance to be 6-1 and already secure a bowl. Or maybe I got that the other way around, where if somehow ULM beats Northwestern and secures a bowl before going into Southern Miss. Holy cow. Did they jump in Rivers and Monroe? Did I already bring that up? But they are the biggest surprise. Now, the quarterback we just spoke with, Colton Joseph, and ODU, they're picked 5th in the Sun Belt. Some of us picked them 2nd in the Sun Belt East. All right. Now, having said that, we picked Georgia Southern 1st. So you look at it both ways. Mostly because I just wasn't sure about the JMU quarterback. That may not be a deciding factor as it turns out, but that was my rationale anyways at the time. I think I'm right. I think ODU's quarterback is better than JMU's quarterback. JMU may be a better team, but ODU's quarterback is better than JMU's quarterback. And right now they are a really good football team. Played a little sloppy against Liberty with too many turnovers. Same thing against Indiana, right? Shot themselves in the foot once too often and stopped them from coming away with what would have been a huge upset. But nonetheless, they got Coastal at home this week. And are they off the next week? No, they got Marshall. All right. So they got a couple of interesting ball games. You don't want to look ahead too much. All right. Because you got to take care of business, right? You want to be 5-1 when you're playing JMU in a couple of weeks. So we'll see how that turns out. And again, these are going to be more on the disappointment end of things. But obviously the Cajuns and Arkansas State are the two. Well, not only those two, but Georgia Southern as well. All right. Although right now the Cajuns standing 2-3 are 1-0 in the Sun Belt. So They're right there, as it turns out, after one ball game. Not surprised by James Madison, although you guys know where I picked him. I think third. Coastal Carolina's 1-0. All right. They could be, they keep on winning. They'll be a big surprise as far as I'm concerned. We're talking about Old Dominion. I guess I'm not all that surprised one way or the other about App State. You know, they won 2 ball games. They lost 2 ball games. Can they play better? Is AJ Swan too beat up? And can he stop throwing it to the opposing team? That's the big deal. All right. Very disappointed in Georgia Southern. I think Marshall's got to figure it out on one side of the football. If they can figure it out on the other side of the football, they'll be fine. And again, trying to change defenses midway during a football game is not as easy as it sounds. All right. And Georgia State is disappointing because they're not better, but certainly not the biggest disappointment. Texas State is really good. They're kind of in the shadows, although if you go look, and I quote tweeted it from a reporter at the press conference, feels like G.J. Kinney has been contacted by other schools, whether that's Arkansas or Oklahoma State, and he's dealing with it head on. So it's not like he's applying for the job, although he may be interested in them, that people have contacted him, and he is telling his team, here's the deal. All right. First of all, I'm not leaving during the season, so that's not going to happen. All right. So I'm concentrating on you guys, but people have contacted me because we've done a really good job at this program. And so I'm letting you know. That's kind of the way I took it. You can go see it for yourself. So it's out there. That's the way it felt like to me when you answer that question that way, instead of, no, I haven't spoken to anybody, blah, 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 meaning someone's called your agent. No, you kind of took it head on, kind of like Will Wade did at McNeese. Going to be honest, I'm getting paid this here. I could double or triple my salary here. That's the way of the world. Okay. So we'll keep you updated as it goes. I'm not leaving now, right? This job's I'm not going to leave in the middle of the season. May leave shortly thereafter, but that's a different story. That's way down the road. We'll worry about that, when that happens. All right. So I appreciate that. You don't get that honesty too often. All right. And obviously it's nice to be, I think SMU tried to handle it as well. I'm not sure Brett Lashley handled it as well as G.J. Kinney had, or at least the way I like it, right? It's the way of the world, right? He's like, you can't deny it. They see it on Twitter, and so deal with it head on. That's the way I took it. It could be the other way, whereas no one's contacted me, but it kind of felt like he's been contacted, all right? So we'll see how that goes, although, again, it would be funny if Texas State goes to Pac-12 2.0 and G.J. Kinney's still in the Big 12. That would be, it's neither ironic or coincidence. It would just be funny. All right. All right. Let's take a timeout. That's good enough for that. Well, Troy, they could end up being a big surprise. See how they do, but absolutely Arkansas State. I'm not sure about South Alabama. I guess we thought they were going to be okay, but I guess they're in the disappointment range, certainly. So I'm not sure that's the biggest surprise going. All right, so let's do it the other way. Who's the biggest disappointment? We'll do that when we come back after I tell you about Mazda and Game Time. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride. More awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings the same intention to how we craft every model. And with all-wheel drive, standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. And Game Time. College football is back, and I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's just nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually, getting tickets can feel more like a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. And that's why I use Game Time, the app that gives you the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. All right, I pulled up Game Time for the Battle of the Belt, and you can still get tickets for Troy, South Alabama for $31 a pop. How great is that? Probably not going to be that cheap by the time the game time rolls around, so hop on it while you can. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. All right, Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your teams every day. All right, biggest disappointment. I'm going to start off with, well, it's got to be Georgia Southern, right? I picked them to win the division. I don't think I picked Arkansas State to win the division, but I picked Georgia Southern to win the division. And I mean, right now, they're just not very good. All right, they had some guys, did a deep dive, found out what Clay Helton's buyout is. He ain't going anywhere. He is coming back. All right, so I don't think that's neither here nor there based on those buyout terms. It's a lot of money. Not to mention you got to pay the next guys coming in. So he's not going anywhere, but it is a disappointment. I presumed that J.C. French would get better. And he feels like it's the same quarterback as last year. Now, is that the offensive line? Is it the receivers? Whatever the case may be. He just has not improved as much as I thought he would. All right. And I can tell you time I thought about this. This is 2 decades ago. All right. Maybe not quite that much, but a long time ago. And I remember listening. I was driving, living in Miami. Mike Ditka, of all people, was doing a hit on radio. And Derek Anderson was the quarterback for the Browns. I don't think he was winning, but he's playing well, which is interesting. But nonetheless, he's like, well, he's going to come back next year. He's going to be better. And I go, really? Do we know that for sure? Why do you think that? Because that's usually the case. Usually you get better. But it has not been the case with J.C. French. I should remember that. I presume that. Bad presumption on my part. Defense is not there. Running game is not there. It's just not a very good football team, and it's very disappointing. I really thought that Georgia Southern was going to contend this year. And we'll see if they blow it all up. I'd be shocked if they did. And the finances are just not there. He's done pretty well, right? It's not like he's been a bad coach. This year's a bad season. But Georgia Southern, another one of those teams where it's championship or bust. Kind of unrealistic expectations every year. Now, the expectation for this year should have been contender. Can't change that. I don't think that's why you fire a guy, but I'm sure nobody's more disappointed in what's going on in Statesboro than Clay Helton and J.C. French, but they are just not a very good football team this year. Same goes for Arkansas State in Jonesboro. They have not rebounded. They did lose a key cog in Jacques Cross, the running back. Got hurt very early in the season. And they just have not rebounded. Did not play well against Arkansas at all. Arkansas has already fired their coach. And then came up just short against Iowa State. A couple calls went against them. Still, that best it would have been a tie. So still hadn't necessarily going to win the ball game. But then they lay an egg in the first quarter against Kennesaw State. Give up 21 points. Can't get out of that hole. Lose 28-21. Jump on top of ULM 10-0 with the help of a pick six, but offense isn't moving the football. Offense cannot move the football. You can't build on a 10-0 lead. You were up 10-0 before they had any points. That's what 10-0 means. They just could not do it. And ULM's defense eventually took over, gave up 6 points the rest of the way. And Armenta had a good ball game after the pick six. We mentioned that. And Arkansas State. These two are by far, for me, the two biggest disappointments. All right. And then you could put the Cajuns in there. All right. I was a little bit more hesitant, and I don't know about peer pressure, but maybe groupthink. There's no peer pressure on my picks, but more about if everybody else is saying this, why aren't I? I didn't know why I did it because Landon Burton is a big time center. When he did not play a couple years ago, they stopped running the football. You know, they had 2 guys returning on the offensive line. They got more guys hurt. We mentioned throughout that, what's Walker Howard going to be? He hasn't played football since he was a senior in high school, and he did not look good against Rice. All right. They couldn't run the football against Rice. They're doing a better job running football now, actually. They went to Daniel Beal. That didn't really work out. And now they are with Lunch Winfield. We'll see how that goes. All right. Again, they are 1-0. So we'll see how that goes. But they got to be a disappointment as well. Disappointed in Georgia State, just not improving. They don't seem to be competing at almost at all, is what it feels like to me. That's the disappointing part with Georgia State. They lost to Ole Miss 63-7, lost to Memphis 38-16. They beat Murray State 37-21. Got steamrolled by Vanderbilt 70-21. Some of those games, I mean, those are all very tough games, except Murray State. It's not going to get any easier. You get James Madison this weekend. All right. One of the top defenses in the country. Then you get a little break with App. We'll see what App is doing. But those would be my disappointing teams. South Alabama, I may have picked them third in the division. That doesn't seem right. Maybe I did. No, I wouldn't have picked South Alabama behind Texas State. I don't think so. No. They're a little bit disappointing, but not surprising. I guess that would be the difference. Their defense was ravaged by the transfer portal. They can't stop anybody. And they got to play perfect on offense. And when they do play well on offense, they play well against Tulane. They hold their own against Auburn. But they turn the ball over against Auburn, and then there goes that football game, right? Defensively, they played, actually, the second half, they played really well against Auburn. But that's where we are. So biggest surprise is going to be ULM. I probably should have included, I don't know why I didn't, Southern Miss has got to be a big surprise as well. Although some people had 9-10 wins. I mean, that may be a little bit nuts. But obviously, a Southern Miss headed in the right direction. May not be West contenders this year. We'll see. All right. We can see how they play on the road, right? That they didn't do so well on the road last time out. But they have done well at home. So we'll see if that makes a difference. I'd like to see a little bit more consistency with Braylon Braxton. Seems to be a little bit all over the place. But again, it's a work in progress. And that's what should be expected with Southern Miss. But seems to be pointed upwards. All right. So Southern Miss would be a pleasant surprise. I don't know about biggest surprise, but pleasant surprise. All right. So ULM is a nice surprise. ODU is not a surprise to me. I picked them second. Everybody else had them fifth. So they're good. And obviously the biggest disappointments are Georgia Southern and Arkansas State. All right. What do you guys think? Let me know. Did get the episode. I got to run. We'll probably edit this after dinner and after services. And then, you know what? I'll take your sympathy. We got to not eat between dinner and dinner. So it's going to be a long day. Have to atone for all of my sins, whatever that means. Although you get the clean bill of health after that. After I atone for my sins, I can sin from this year to next year and then ask for it all again. It's crazy. It says it right in the book. It is what it is. For those of us who are, I'm not sure celebrating, but observing is probably the better Yom Kippur and Kol Nidre. Please have a safe and easy fast, as we like to say. And this is the episode for Thursday. With a searing headache, I will record Friday's episode as we'll preview week 6. It's week 6. All right. Again, special thanks to Colton Joseph and Eric Bohannon over to ODU for setting up that interview. Really appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening. And again, a record 9,400 listens in September of Locked On Sunbelt. So thank you very much. Really do appreciate it. All right. Have a great Thursday, everybody. And we'll talk to you again on Friday. You've been watching and listening to Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day.